just get you real quick. Just comment quickly about Solimar and how efficient she played, and she's had a couple of those this year. What's allowed her to do that?
We used her in the way that we needed to use her tonight. So she played 6 cylinders. She was crushing the ball front row and back row, and Juliana really trusts her, and the connection is clearly awesome. But we need to continue to free her up from serve receive, and we did tonight, and just score and play defense, and she did a really nice job. I'm really proud of her.
Right there, you heard from UNF Volleyball's head coach Kristen Wright following North Florida's first ASUN home win of the year. It was a 3-0 sweep of NGIT Saturday night. They'll get a chance to get a couple more ASUN wins this weekend at Stetson and JU. And welcome back to our next edition of Talon Talk. I'm Brock Borgeson, and in this week's episode, we will be looking into UNF's swimming program and just swimming as a sport at the collegiate level as a whole. We'll have 2 interviews, one with head coach Ian Coffey and senior Sydney Mutschler. But before we get into the 2-part interview today, we will get into last week's action. Men's soccer got 2 big goals from Robbie Sorenellis in the first and 61st minute of action to help UNF down JU 2-0 Saturday. UNF leads the 2019-20 River City Rumble 1-0, and North Florida sits at the top of the ASUN with a tie for first place currently in the conference standings. Mercer got the best of the UNF men's soccer team in Macon, Georgia on Monday, though. On the women's side, women's soccer has not lost a match in 5 consecutive outings after a grinded-out 1-0 victory at Kennesaw State on Thursday and a 1-1 draw in Newark Sunday. Kendra Hoffman provided UNF's only goal in Newark, while Leah Furlan put up the game winner in the 8th minute against Kennesaw State. Women's soccer stands tied for second in the win column in the ASUN standings. The volleyball team went 1-1 last week, falling to FGCU before sweeping NJIT Saturday night. Solimar Sestero had one of the best nights of her season and her career, putting up 15 kills on 464 hitting in the sweep of the Highlanders. Women's tennis completed its weekend at the Bedford Cup. Lucia Montano and Ana Paula Malilo, they won the doubles flight A title, and the doubles pair went 4-0 on the weekend. Valentina Mariato and Montano also reached singles titles matches in their respective flights. And swimming opened its season with a home tri-meet Friday. The Ospreys fell to CCSA foes FGCU and Campbell, while having 3 top 3 finishes and 1 second place time from Lauren Harvard in the 100 breast. 7 freshmen competed in their collegiate debuts. Swimming will again get in the pool for a few more weeks of practice before getting back into action. October 19th, they'll host Georgia Southern. But without further ado, let's bring head coach Ian Coffey into the mix now to talk about the season, swimming, coaching, his career, and a little bit of everything in between. Again, thanks for being on, Ian.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I've been ready to have you on for a while. I know you're eager. You had your opening meet this past weekend. Kind of what are your thoughts about the first meet, and then what's the goal for, your team considering how long the season is in swimming?
Well, I was happy with a lot of aspects of the meet this past weekend. The first meet is kind of getting those jitters out, especially for freshmen. It's their first college meet. I know the freshmen, they were excited, a little nervous. That you don't want to screw up your first college swim. Now, I always tell them, once you get your first swim in,
you don't want to get DQ'd, basically.
Yeah, you don't want to swim bad. But what I wanted to see was where we are, kind of like a measuring stick. I was pleased with a lot of aspects. With race strategy, I really liked. Our fundamentals look pretty good. But there's other things we need to work on, too. I want to see a little more intensity. I want to see a little more turnover, a little more fast twitch, getting up and going. The starts, we need a little work there, but we're going to get it together. As you said, it's a long season, but we're working every day to get better. It's a grind, but overall, I was pleased with the performance, and I don't think I could ever have a meet where I go everything was a A+ or it was 100. Mm-hmm. There's always something we need to work on, because I look at every competition as a dress rehearsal for the conference championships.
Mm-hmm. So how do you kind of map out how you train and how you schedule your opponents and how you schedule your regular season, considering it's sometimes September to March when you're competing?
Well, we'll take it here and there. The way we set up the season is we kind of break it into different phases. We start off with an aerobic phase, getting back in the flow. That's about 2 weeks. Right now we're in competition phase 1, and that's more of working in your specialty groups, working on your skill set. Our athletes have different skills. They swim multiple events, so we work on those events. We maximize their skills, minimize their weaknesses. We'll have a staff meeting on Tuesday, and we'll talk about, okay, this is working, this isn't working. We can work on this on Wednesday, and on Thursday, let's work on this, and Friday, let's work more technical here, and Saturday, we're going to work on this. And we work on different aspects throughout the week, so we're not making this up as we go along.
Yeah.
Everything is planned out. The athletes get a copy of the practice in their lane. They get to see what they're doing. Mainly not so they can see ahead to be like, well, I can be easy here and we can do this there, but mainly so they understand what we're doing. After this, we'll go into our mid-season invitational phase when we go to Liberty University for their invite. It's our first time going there. And after that, we have our exam phase, which is kind of just keeping things normal as we can during exam season. And then we come back in January for competition phase 2, which is a little more, kind of what we're doing there is we're sharpening the skills. We're putting in the work, but we're also sharpening the skills, the starts, finishes, things like that, race strategy. And then we go into championship phase, and that's where we get the taper, everybody's favorite word. And
that's always something that even non-swimmers kind of hear about thrown around. They're like, what's that? What's a taper? Yeah.
Taper is yardage down, intensity up.
Okay.
It says go fast, go fast. It's not,
and that's when he's start shaving your legs and doing all that stuff too.
Yep. What we're doing is they're at a certain yardage. We'll say our middle distance group is at about 6,500 yards, and we'll just start shaving off. A little more longer warm up. We'll get up and go stuff. A little more recovery, just to get them ready for a 3.5-day trials finals meet. Some of these young ladies can have up to 10 swims during that, and that's a lot. And they're going to be ready for it. All the training they do is designed for that meet. And after the conference meet, we have the NIC, the National Invitation Championships. So hopefully we'll get some athletes to qualify for that. We went there last year, and that was a good experience for everybody. I really enjoyed going to that meet. And as you said about the schedule, we like to schedule our home meets in the fall, before the middle of November, due to the weather here. Sometimes it can change. I don't think being here in January when it's about 45 for the high, we're going to have an outdoor swim meet. I don't think it'll be too popular.
Well, thanks for not having those. That makes it easier for me, too.
All right, that's cool. But we like to schedule teams within our conference, but also teams in the state of Florida. We also like to go to different schools that we haven't been to. Like this year, we have never been to Old Dominion. I don't know if we've ever been to Gardner-Webb. I personally have never been to Gardner-Webb. And we're looking to swim different teams we haven't swum before. Old Dominion, VMI. Who else we're swimming here? But when we go to the Invitational at Liberty, we're swimming against Navy, Marshall, Duquesne, James Madison. Group. This will probably be faster than our conference meet. And I think that's it's a test for our team to step up and get your times. But we like to schedule conference teams and also teams that are close to us in the state of Florida. We want our families and friends to come and watch our meets.
Sure.
So we also want to have this as a good experience for our athletes too, to see what else is out there and compete against different opponents year in and year out instead of the same old opponents here and there.
Because it's part of their experience too, obviously, and getting the enriching part of going places, seeing new teams, and also having their family when they can. Talking about on your end of things, if you have a tri meet or it's a tournament, or not a tournament but an invitational or a duel, do you strategize any differently as coaches in terms of where you put people to swim, what events, just how you structure it?
What I do is, and actually I was going to do this after this, and I'll kind of give a little secret away here, but what I do is I look at the other team and I scout the other team and I see where they're strong and where they're not strong, and I look to see where we are strong, where it matches up where they're not strong. For example, last year we swam against FAU and Gardner-Webb.
That was a home one, yeah.
Home one, and I felt that if we got first place against Gardner-Webb in the medley relay, that's 11 points. Second is fourth, third is 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, all right, well, we need to win the medley relay, and they can't get 2 or 3. They can only get 2, 3. We have to get 2 of those places.
Yeah.
So looking at our personnel, I said, all right, here's our best relays right here. And we wound up actually tying for first place against them. We were touched out by FAU, but in the standings, in the overall dual meet against Gardner-Webb, we tied for first. So we got 15 points. You get first and second points.
Yep.
So
11 and 4. Yeah.
Yeah. So we take that, and then we go from there. But we kind of see where we match up to get the most points. We're swimming Georgia Southern in 12 days.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at Georgia Southern's roster, they have some strong points, but they also have some points where we can get a lot of points here. We need to, let's try this there. The lineups are usually different each meet. It depends on what events we're swimming, what format we're swimming, and what or where we can get people in to get maybe a swim they don't usually do, but they can perform there. Like the event formats, you have 13 event, 16 event format. 13 event is only one swim of the strokes. You either pick the 200 or pick the 100.
So is that a coach's discretion before the meet? Okay.
Like this meet coming up, I've already spoken with the Georgia Southern coach. We're still working on what format we want to use, but we've already agreed that we want to do the 400 IM instead of the 200 IM. So with the 400 IM, that's one of our strong points.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm real happy about that.
If you're looking at the 200 and 400 IM, obviously it's just a distance difference. How do you know if you're stronger at one or another? You have more sprinters, so to speak, for the 200 IM?
We have athletes who are very good at the 4 IM, but their 200 IM is okay.
Yeah.
And we also have some athletes who are good at both, and we have some who are good at 2, but they're not good at the 4. Mainly with the IM it's 4 disciplines. You have to have 4 good strokes.
Yeah.
You can't fake it. But there's 2 things you call an IMer. Are you a front half IMer or are you a back half IMer? Are you strong in the butterfly and the backstroke, and in the breaststroke and freestyle you hang on? Or are you a second half swimmer where you're okay in the fly and the backstroke, and the breaststroke and the freestyle is what gets you home?
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of athletes who do that. And also there's strategies to the 4 IM and the 2 IM. The 2 IM, it's a sprint, whereas the 4 IM, we try to have our athletes either hit the same time or negative split go faster on the second 50 of the 100 of each stroke. So there's a lot of strategy in making a meet. It's not just we throw something up and go, hey, let's do this today. It's what personnel we have to score the most points, get the fastest swims, and hopefully win the meet.
And that's one of the interesting things about swimming, and I think that anybody that looks at it from the outside, they're not thinking there is a lot of thought and input that goes into it, because in their mind it's swimming,
Mm-hmm.
and there's any time that you don't know a sport, I feel like it's more detail oriented than it comes off to be, because I know it is for me. So for you in terms of recruiting and getting swimmers, obviously you have baseball, or a lot of these high schoolers, they're shortstops in high school, or they're the shooting guard or point guard in basketball, or they're a quarterback in football, but they come to college and they got to adjust to what is needed here at their school. Is that typical in swimming? Like if you're a freestyle, if you're really good at the 50 free and you're a sprinter in high school, you're probably going to do that in college, or does it get mixed up?
Mainly people will stick with the events they've swam through high school with their club teams. Sometimes we can switch it up with some people saying, hey, let's try this, see what you look like. And sometimes they'll pop off a good time and go, hey, I didn't know I could swim this event.
Yeah.
If you're a 50 freestyler, I'm not going to put you in the mile.
Yeah, I don't think they want to be there either.
No, I tell the sprint group that from time to time, like, I'll put you in the mile, and they're like, no. I was telling them the scoreboard doesn't go up that high. So.
Yeah. So do they have a different personality type? Do you notice a different personality in the sprinter and the distance? Is there a different major that they have, or any kind of nuance?
I wouldn't say major, but I would say the sprinters have a little more moxie, a little more
I would
confidence.
think so, yeah.
The distance are a little more laid back. they're very focused on what they're doing. They have to keep track of where they are in their races, when to start, getting the kick going, starting to, hey, I got to pick up my speed. They're very in tune with what they want to do. Whereas, I'm not making fun of my sprinters, but it's a little more confidence. There's a little more, there's a little more, I would say, competition when we get up on the blocks because in 50
it's decided there.
It's decided in under a minute. So whereas with the milers 1,000, 500, they have time to set up shop and go from there. But it's a different, but it's I always tell people that swimmers are they're a weird breed. These young ladies get in the water when it's 32 degrees outside, but the pool's 85, and they do it.
You don't want to leave the pool at that point, though, probably.
No, they don't want to get out.
You don't want to go to practice at that point, but then when you get in the pool, you're like, I'm not leaving the pool.
Yeah, but I got to stand on the pool deck.
So, you have your guys swimming 1650s and then 1000s. How do you practice for that? Like, if you're at practice and you're doing that type of stuff day in and day out, what are you focusing on? Like, how do you apply, detail-oriented energy to something?
Well, we do a set. It's 33 50s, and that's the 1650. And we'll do them on 45 seconds, and each swimmer tries to hold the same pace. Try to hold 30, 31. Just try to keep the same pace going.
That sounds like it'd be harder than the event itself.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
When they see it on the paper,
that sounds bad.
There's not a lot of people cheering for that set. But what we do is we work on the pace and the race strategy of mainly with all of our races from the 200 up, and even with the 100 is we're trained to get home. We're not going to fade. We're not going to go out real fast and then you just hang on. It is strong throughout the entire race with strategy, knowing, okay, I know where I am. One thing that we do here is, and the team gets mad at me for this one, is the counters have a hand signal for myself. And if they're perfect.
And the counters are the people at the ends of the Okay.
We're counting the laps, and if they're doing a good swim, just leave it in the water. Don't
I
move
see.
it. So the swimmer knows, hey, I'm doing okay. If it doesn't go in the water, you're going out too fast. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. If it starts shaking, that means let's pick it up.
Yeah.
But there's also points in the race where I'll get it shaken to say, hey, you're doing it, pretty much saying, you got this. Let's go. Let's get this home. We've had races before. Allie Schillinger is one of our distance swimmers. She had a couple of races where I didn't tell the counter to shake the numbers, we'll say, till about maybe like 150 left in the race, and she's like, I thought you weren't watching the race.
You was like, you were just not paying attention to me.
I said, what do you think I was doing? I was going out getting a soda in the hallway, and I came back and you were swimming.
I mean, that's got to be weird though. It's one of the most removed, player coach experiences in an event in any sport, because obviously you're underwater, and so you've got this chain of command from a coach to a swimmer to a swimmer. So are there restrictions on you guys for what you can do and where you can go?
Well, we can be on the side of the pool and give hand signals, but when you're swimming, it's unless you're looking directly at something.
There's probably something wrong if you are.
Yeah,
and
you can kind of get a look of, again, I'm tall, so if I put my hands up, but when you're swimming, it's a blur. You're really not seeing all that stuff. But with the distance swimmers, they kind of will look, but they prefer, or I actually prefer as well, is to use the hand signals with the counter to make sure, like, okay, I'm watching the splits. When you get to a certain split and you go over, that's when we start shaking the numbers. But also, if you're not taking the race out fast enough.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to be behind the whole time.
Yeah. So whatever you do, it doesn't matter. At that point, you got to speed up. Yeah.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So why don't you have some coaches at the end of the lanes then, and you have swimmers there? Is that just like how swimming is done? Coaches do things. They prefer that.
I like being on. We usually are on the side of the pool because that's where you get set up. For, your team sits there. But
right.
I do not want to be behind the blocks. As one, I'll get my shoes all wet from the splash and the turns. But I want to see the race.
I see.
Kind of like panoramic.
You can see it better from that angle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you kind of see what's going on, and you can see the entire field. If you're looking straight on into a lane, you're not going to see, if you're right in the middle, you won't see the outside lanes. You get to see everything right then and there. So that's pretty much where every coach stands. I can't remember any coaches standing.
That's whatever I've seen, yeah. So if you're standing there, and what are coaches doing with, they're blowing a whistle, they're doing hand signals. I've seen them even doing, it looks like strokes in some senses. Like, what are you doing?
The hand signals are pretty much saying you're okay, or you got to pick it up. I'll always give the okay signal to, what's going on. But if someone is, their stroke's getting short, we'll extend our arms, so they can see, they'll see that out of the corner of their eye. Or if they the kick, just go moving your arms up and down. So, hey, you got to keep your kick. You're losing your kick. You're getting tired. So that's just certain things that, you can see. But, you're not going to see when you're swimming in the pool, when you're swimming fast. You're really not going to get a good focus in on something when you're just breathing for a half second there.
Has there been a time where you're like, man, their technique is off right now? Something needs to be addressed. Have you been able to intervene during a meet, or is it just all right? That's what's happening
after the race, but not during a race.
Yeah.
During a race, it is the swimmer is doing their thing. Afterwards we can talk about it. This past meet, talked to an athlete like, hey, you're the butterfly, you're overextending here. The kick was all over the place. No, I think she was more excited than anything just to get in there and go. But just saying, hey, get under control, set up your stroke, keep it going.
Yeah. So you had, I think, 7 freshmen, I believe, swim at the last meet.
Yep.
That's quite a bit. For you as a coach, and you've been doing this for a while, what's the biggest kind of change that you've had swimmers undergo from freshman to senior year? Is it mainly a time drop, or is it just an endurance thing? What have you noticed the most?
It's time drop, and also getting used to the system we run here. We have a lot of young ladies come through here, and from the freshman to senior, you can tell that they have grown up a lot maturity-wise, but as swimmers, they understand now, okay, this is what we need to do. This is how we do things to get to this goal.
Yeah.
And once they start seeing the results of what we're doing, it catches on real quick.
So it's your first meet as a freshman. Obviously, it's a cardiovascular sport, plus the water. You're trying to get your heart rate under control, your breathing. I'd imagine I'd be pretty amped if I was swimming. How do you manage that? And how did you manage that when you swam?
Oh, when I swam years ago, it was just focused. The way I swam was, I'm just going to go out there and go.
Yeah. What did you swim?
I was freestyle breaststroker. It was, I'd say in high school, I was a part of a team that won the conference every year, and we were loaded, and we swam in a 4-lane pool. They put like 24 guys.
How did you practice?
I don't know.
You're running into people every swim.
They still swim in a 4-lane pool.
It hasn't changed.
I started high school in 1991, and they said, we're working on getting a new pool. Well, it's 2019, and they're still working on getting a new pool there. So,
hopefully different water, though.
Yeah. But it's just kind of, it's a mindset you have. You can tell just by looking at people getting behind the blocks who's in that right mindset. We have some people that are kind of, jumping around. They're getting hyped up. Okay, they're starting to get that focus going. There's some people, they're scared to death behind that block. And there's other people, they are so confident that they're just cool behind there. They're just hanging out. So you can kind of see. So at the next meet, you can kind of look behind a block. You can
see what the mojo is.
Yeah, you can see. You can see what people are thinking.
Yeah. So swimming, I knew this from high school, and some of my friends that were swimmers in college. It's a grind for practice. You have early practices. You have 2-a-days a lot of the time. Why is swimming, like practice and structure, kind of, formatted that way? Why do you have practices so early or multiple practices in a day?
Well,
even in high school, you see it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mainly, a lot of times it's just a schedule.
Yeah.
We get the pool here on campus. I'm going to push that time back. Pick it up at 5 o'clock for 7 months. It takes a toll on you. But
early bird gets the worm. Yeah.
But it's mainly it's to get your workout done before you go to class, before you go to work, whatever that may be. With older swimmers, master swimmers, will say. And then the afternoon is when you're done class, here's practice again. So we can move that. It's I would love to have a practice that went like 10 to 12:30.
Yep.
That'd be the greatest thing in the world. But the way this sport is, and I've been in this sport pretty much my whole life, that's how it is we get it done in the morning, go to class, get your studies done, come back in the afternoon, and you're done your class. Let's get this going, and that's part of the routine. This is a very high time management sport. You have to manage not just the sport itself, but going to weights, going to study hall, going to class, getting your food, getting your proper rest. I always tell
you got to be precise.
Yeah, I always tell people the reason why people fail and succeed in college, in sports, and in the classroom
how do they use their time?
Is time management is the number one reason. I've been doing this long enough. So.
Yeah, and that and that's what I noticed too. And I had friends. Yeah. But in regards to the morning practices, I remember I would come back from class and it'd be 11 to 2 and they'd be wiped out. And that was their window of recovery, and then they're back at 4. What does your diet look like? And, for you, what's your bedtime getting up, so early, and how has that changed your day?
Oh, me personally, I get up at 5 o'clock. Well, the alarm goes off at 5. And I would say out of the 6 days it goes off at 5, I hit snooze probably 5 of those days. Just one snooze. I'm very routine oriented. I have my gym bags by the door. Everything's just in a system to where I don't have to
think about it.
Go around in the dark. I let the dog out. He comes back in, and I'm out the door, and I'm here by 5:30. And my new thing now is the Dunkin's open at 5 down the street. So I go
that's
there
perfect.
I get a coffee, and then I come over.
That makes a big difference. 5 or 6 right there.
Oh,
that'll change the whole day. Those 3.
Get that iced coffee going. We're good to go. And then during the day, I'm here doing the coaching thing here. And I leave here probably around 4:30 or 5, and then make a couple recruiting calls if need be, depending on what day it is, and then I'm in bed by 10. I get tired. It's
a grind. Yeah.
I now know that I'm in my 40s that I can't have caffeine after 4 o'clock.
Oh man,
it's not gonna
I don't
work.
look forward to that.
It's coming, man.
Yeah, it is probably sooner than that for me. So what's the diet like since you're burning so many calories swimming?
No,
I mean,
my
I mean, I guess you could talk about yourself, but no. I mean, in terms of when you swam and then your swimmers, I mean, they've got to be eating a ton.
I can't really remember what I was eating back then, but it was probably McDonald's and Taco
Philly cheesesteaks up there in Philly.
Oh,
yeah.
Get yourself a cheesesteak. But our athletes actually do a good job of their diet. My first couple of years here, they were notorious for being horrible eaters.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably Pop-Tart, sometimes just quick carbs for
donuts.
And,
they're on a first name basis with everybody at the Einstein Bagel.
Okay, yeah.
They don't know their orders. They walk in, they're like, okay, that young lady wants the I don't know what the veggie.
Well, you're getting back from practice too, and you're always probably before the people that are going to class.
Yeah, that's it. They're on a first name basis with them. They do a good job. A lot of them live out in the neighborhood, and I see them at Publix, and they like cooking, and that's good. So far, no one's burned the house down, but they're very good with it. I always said jokingly that they could never do the Moe's burrito contest during the.
They couldn't do it.
I wouldn't.
Why not?
Because here's what would happen. Whoever is the other
fact
person,
that you've thought about this.
I thought about this. Whoever's the other person, my athlete's going to eat their burrito. Look at that person and say,
eat theirs.
Give me that. Eat their burrito, and then turn to Caitlin and say, "Where's the other one?" within that time frame.
So their metabolisms are through the roof too.
Oh yeah, yeah, but they're not as bad as they come off. Like they're not as bad as they come off, but they do a good job with it, because we always say it's eat for function. This is your fuel. If you're putting bad fuel in you, you're not going to go.
Especially, you got to be really careful with, because you're in water and you're doing something cardiovascular. I mean, they always say take your time before you get in the pool after eating if you're not swimming competitively. So
like, it's not that old myth, like only 20 minutes or something after you eat to go in the pool. It's not like that.
It's not? Okay. All right. It's just a myth. Yeah.
No, but also, if like in our team room, we have a refrigerator, and a lot of them bring their own lunches, and the majority of it is vegetables, proteins, fruits. So they're
functional,
good carbohydrates. So they're doing a good job of it. I'm real happy about that. We made some progress from the Krispy Kreme and donut day. So we're doing all right.
Shucks. So we're talking about swimming outside and it being cold in the morning in the winter. It's pretty cool that we can swim outside though and have meets in October, being in Florida. How different was that for you, coming from having coached in cold climates your whole life, coaching at Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Radford, Mansfield, being at LaSalle?
It's I'm still getting used to it. Whenever I would coach outside, it would either be during training trip, or we would swim against like the University of Miami or
an ACC
FAU.
Trip down, or
we would like, okay, I remember at Villanova we swam against Miami one year, and it was like, okay, and it was great. And I sit there on the pool deck today. It's like, well, we got rained out. It was
a little bit.
The lightning alarm went off. It's like, all right,
it was a bit wild this morning. Yeah.
Yeah, we got out before we're on the highway going home and that stuff. But but it's still after. I'm in my 6th season here. I still sometimes have to like think about going, man, this is weird, like just being outside here. Because then we go to indoor meets, and it's like
it's echoing. It's
I'm not
different
used to
environment.
I'm like I was doing this for 20 years, and now I don't understand
why.
What's this all about? But it's interesting when we go. The athletes are more turned off by it. They hate swimming indoors.
I would imagine that, looking back on working indoor events compared to the outdoor events, it's a different vibe completely.
Yeah, like you were at the meet on Fridays past week. It was a good crowd there. It's nice little breeze coming off the St. John's. It was great.
Pleasant day. It wasn't overly hot. Yeah, and you're in October. I mean, I'm from Illinois, so that's a rarity as well. To have that luxury of swim outside.
Oh, I think it's great.
Yeah,
I enjoy it. It's just that when we get into the season, there's some pools we go to with bad air circulation. We're so used to breathing the fresh air every day. It's kind of we have to adjust to the airflow, stuff like that. And also sometimes we have to adjust to how powerful the chlorine is in an indoor pool.
Is it more powerful inside for a reason?
I wouldn't say it's more powerful, but it's more distinct. You can smell it.
Because it's contained.
It's contained, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So is it an adjustment with the noise level? Because it's probably louder and you get more of an echo inside.
There's more of a noise factor, but it depends on the venue we go to. There's some venues that are small, don't have a lot of deck space. You don't really have a lot of patrons there. But we go to our conference meet. We go to Liberty. Those houses are going to be rocking.
Yeah.
So and also you feed off that too. And you're swimming, and you can. It's interesting when you swim and you have a crowd going crazy. You hear that noise.
Oh, it's going to impact you.
When you breathe, you get a little. You hear that while you're swimming.
It's probably amplified in some ways.
Oh, being a swimmer. It gets you fired up.
Yeah.
You get it, but you hear it, then you don't. Then you hear it, then you don't.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's a mind game. So you've been all these places in Big East and ACC and now ASUN or CCSA, excuse me, with UNF. The swimming world still seems pretty connected, regardless of where you are. Like, people from different places. Obviously, we're talking about JB Smith, and you know him down here. What's the swimming culture like for coaches?
Well, we're a small group. We're not.
Yeah.
There's not a giant fraternity of swim coaches. We all look out for each other. We're all different people, but I'm friendly with a lot of coaches. What we do, a lot of us, was we talk to each other about, hey, workouts, how to handle a situation, how, hey, what. you're swimming these guys. What you think of them? Or we talk about the sport.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about what's going on, daily stuff. Like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Have you ever done anything like this? Just certain things that, we deal with. We're not accountants. We're not, businessmen. We're not 9-to-5 guys.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking to some people, they get what you're saying. You've only met the person just then and there. They get what you're talking about.
It's nice to be able to just have that wavelength.
Yeah.
With coaches. How did you get into swimming? Growing up in Jenkintown, right?
Jenkintown.
Where's that?
Right outside Philadelphia.
Okay, it's right outside Philadelphia. What got you into swimming? Were you playing other sports, and why'd you stay in it?
I'll give you a side note here.
Yeah.
Jenkintown is the town where the show The Goldbergs takes place.
Okay.
That is my hometown. They talk about certain things. I'm like, I remember that place.
You know exactly where that is, that location.
Or where it was. When
yeah.
I was probably not there anymore. But I grew up playing a lot of sports. Swimming was something we always did when we were kids. We started swimming when we were 3-4 years old, and we would mainly be in the summer. We'd start up swimming in the summer, and then we'd swim. I was talking my brother and my sister, and we would swim in the winter. And we played other sports, baseball, basketball. I loved playing basketball. I probably couldn't probably couldn't make a foul shot if you gave me 10 tries right now. But I loved playing basketball. Baseball. But swimming was the sport where I was like, okay, this is where I do well. This is where I can excel at.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like, all right, well, I like doing this. And there's swimming, there's a love-hate relationship with swimming. There's times I hated swimming, and there's times where I was like, man, this is the best.
I think that's how the sport makes you. Yeah, probably.
But yeah, I started when I was young, and went from there. And I've had good coaches along the way, and good support system, people to encourage you to do that, and because it's tough. It's tough to be in a sport where it's very individualized, but also it's a team sport.
Mm-hmm.
So it is tough in a lot of ways to focus on what you're doing.
It's like your cross countries, your tennises in some ways, a lot of the Olympic sports. Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned that tidbit about your hometown. A lot of people know you as kind of a trivia hound.
Yeah.
How did that evolve? What's your secret there? Because some people have their niche in trivia. Do you have one?
I do. It's usually the TV, movies, or music, and people say, "Well, how do you know that?" And I say, "Well, I grew up watching MTV."
Well, it's changed quite a bit, right? From the Dire Straits days to
when they had videos.
Yeah.
And it's funny because they'll play a song and I'll say, I know that. And I'll remember, and I always kind of say that when I was growing up in the summertime in the 80s, for the young kids out there, that was an era of like bright colors and Duran Duran and stuff like that, and New Coke. But what it is really is I think about like, hey, I remember hearing that song when this was going on.
Yeah, you associate it with the time.
I'll remember stuff like that, but like someone will say to me like, hey, I was talking to this guy, and I'd be like, who's that? And they'll be like, you went to high school with him. I go, oh, like
yeah. It's like I don't that slips my mind. Yeah,
and it's not like I'm not remembering that, but it's just like, I remember that, I remember this, but yeah, trivia is fun. There's some categories I don't know anything in. Like literature.
I mean, I think that probably goes for most people.
That's not my deal. I'm not a Shakespeare guy, so it's not my thing.
So sports obviously is one area where you really have a lockdown on. How are you? Are you a Sixers fan, Eagles fan, Phillies fan, Flyers? Are you Philly across the board? I know you've got a little bit Jags affiliation now.
See how the sports go in the household.
Yeah.
I'm for I root for all my Philadelphia teams. I didn't root for the Sixers for a while. I didn't trust that process.
It's pretty exciting. Trust the process.
I wasn't watching.
You weren't one of those guys? You didn't buy into that?
I thought that was the worst thing in sports. I thought that
the
was...
Joel Embiid trust the process days.
Oh, I like that, but I didn't like the fact that they tanked on purpose. I thought that was...
Did it for a while.
They did it for 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, they did have some kind of fun teams that messed up my Bulls with the Lou Williams and that team that year. That wasn't fun.
Pretty much it was a farm system for the better teams to trade draft picks to get people. But
your Iguodala days.
Yeah, I didn't like that one bit. I thought, as someone who's a coach, I don't know how the coach went through with that. I don't know how I could go to work every day knowing that you're supposed to lose. I don't know how I can handle that. But love ice hockey. Flyers are great. I love watching the Flyers. Baseball, I love watching the Phillies, but the Eagles are my favorite. I love college basketball and college football.
Mm-hmm.
My fiance is a Georgia Bulldogs fan, and I guess that makes me one by default.
Yeah.
But I went to Virginia Tech, and I root for Virginia Tech. And, I just like watching sports in general. So it's just something I like to do. It's fun. I'll watch any game. I'm one of the guys, I'll turn on, the first game at noon. It's like Penn State and Iowa, and then I'll be watching USC, UCLA later in the day.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really matter. It's it's entertaining. It's anybody can win on any day in college football and basketball.
Awesome, Ian. That was a great interview. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's good to talk a little swimming, talk a little sports, and it's a fun time.
We could go on a lot longer, I'm sure, but now we've got to bring on senior swimmer Sydney Mutschler. How does it feel to be a senior?
It's a really surreal feeling. Like, the last 4 years have gone so fast. I feel like just yesterday I was a freshman, but each year I feel like I learn more. And, like, it's just good to look back at it from, like, this perspective and see, like, how each year our team has improved and gotten different and just changed in general. But it's, like, good change,
Mm-hmm. How has it changed in your individual, game and performance? Because, I asked Ian about this a little bit ago. Freshman to senior year, is it mainly, drops in times or how you feel in the water, confidence-wise, technique? What's been the biggest evolution for you?
For me personally, I had a big drop, like, in my sophomore year. So, like, that was really cool because I hadn't dropped in my events, like, since, like, early high school time.
Yeah.
So it had been like years at that point, and I had big drops. So, like, that was really cool. But in general, it's just more of, like, you learn more about yourself and you grow more confident. Like, you start weightlifting, which is new to most swimmers, I think.
Yeah.
Like, most of us come in and we've never lifted before. So, like, that's a really new thing. And, like, you just get better and get more confident. Like, I was, like, really bad at lifting my freshman year, but, like, now I'm, like, super confident and stuff. And so I like that progression. And you feel more, like, you just appreciate the sport more, I feel, as you get older.
What does a swimmer do for lifting? And what, you have, you guys practice at Bulls and you compete there for home, and they got the, the dry land room and everything like that. What's the purpose of that, and what do you guys do for training?
For, like, lifting, we typically focus, like, they like to focus us on stuff that will help us in the pool, not just, like, get big,
Yep.
So, like, we do a lot of, like, shoulder stuff, and, like, we'll do, like, we've added a lot of jumping this year, which I could see how that helped, like, with turns and like off the blocks and stuff, which is really important to, like, begin your race and continue your momentum. Like, you want to continue the momentum after every turn and not lose your momentum in a turn. So it's really important to hit those. So I can see that. So
do you guys, when you're in the water, designate time to really work on, just your jumps off the block and then your turns? Is there like kind of a breakdown of that?
I mean, they tell you every time you do a turn is, like, you can work on it. But we'll do, like, before big races and stuff. So, like, before midseason and conference, we'll definitely hone in on starts and turn work a lot more.
Okay. How do you know if you've really spun off a good turn?
You'll, like, if you hit the wall, like, I've missed walls plenty of times in my
So if you miss a
years.
wall, how do you get that momentum? How do you recover? You just don't.
You just have
Can
to,
it ruin an event? Obviously, if it's a sprint event, it's going to mess you up.
It can definitely mess you up. Typically in the longer events, you can gain your momentum back eventually and catch up. But, like, it's definitely not good to miss a wall. But it depends on the race to say if it's, like, detrimental or anything.
Yeah. Because, I mean, any little bit of momentum loss in a short race is going to do you in. So right now you're dealing with a labrum issue right now. What's your timeline with that, and how do you go through rehab, and what's your process, and what's your timeline for getting back in the pool?
It's still up in the air. I'm still working with doctors and stuff. So I'm just hoping for the best. I'm hoping to be able to do something this senior year and just finish swimming, like, on my own terms.
Yeah.
But it's really, like, rehab's been going well. I've been doing a lot in the training room and, like, keeping up with it and doing like mobility stretches and stuff like that. So I can feel like it, like getting a little bit better. It's still not great. I mean, it's a labral tear, but I'm just taking it day by day, and I'm trying to like find a positive in the situation, you know. This obviously isn't ideal.
No. Had you dealt with any labrum issues previously, rotator cuff? Because those are probably the two biggest, depending on the stroke that you swim.
Definitely. They're definitely big injuries in swimming, and they're definitely not good injuries because you're such a shoulder-dependent sport. I've had like minor, like just like aches and pains, but this is the first time I've had like a legit injury in my shoulder. Okay.
So how often is your rehab and training right now to get that back?
I try and do it during the week every day. So, I mean, it's not every day. I'd say probably 4-ish days a week. I try and do rehab and just general like strengthening exercises, mobility, like movements and stuff to gain that back.
Okay. So we were talking about this earlier with Ian, and it's a marathon season, you know, for swimming in college, really unique and similar to tennis in some senses, where you have the fall and the spring season. How do you stay sharp when you are competing, going from September all the way to March, and you know, working on your game and staying fit at the same time?
Like growing up, so I've been competitively swimming since I was 8, and swimming is always a year-round sport. So it's not new to be competing all year round. So it's something we always did. Like you have different, like in high school, you have your high school season, and you have like a big meet in the winter after high school season, and then you'll come back and have big meets in March and stuff, and then you'll have big meets in the summer, and then you go right back into high school season. So you typically would only take off small week breaks around like holidays and like one at the end of the summer and stuff, but like we would never have like large breaks of time because swimming is such like an endurance based sport. So it's like you constantly
have to have it or else you lose
like
it.
If you take out too big of time, like it's just going to take you that long to get back into shape. So the longer you take off, the longer you have to take back into shape, you know.
Sure. So are you doing any kind of anything special with your schedule and your day-to-day life to kind of keep you honed in and, you know, fit, whether it's diet or sleep pattern or naps or any trick of the trade that you have or that you've taken on that other swimmers do?
Definitely, we are a fan of the naps as a team,
Yeah,
I would say.
That's everything. Every time I'm really close with a couple swimmers in college and roommates, and they napped unlike any people that I met.
If I have like 20 minutes, I'll literally get in the bed and I'll set my timer for 20 minutes and I will like close my eyes, because we're just like, we're the only sport that gets up as early as we do every single, like 6 days a week. So naps are definitely important. I'm trying to think. I would just say like a lot of them go to bed early. I'm not the earliest to go like.
So do you do your studying late as well?
I'm definitely a procrastinator.
Okay. That lends itself to late nights. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I like don't go to bed as early, but there's definitely, I would say at least half the team is in bed by like 10 p.m.
Sure.
Every single night.
How about in terms of diet? You know, obviously does the Michael Phelps kind of thing run true to a lot of people that swim?
Swimmers definitely, I would say, have bigger appetites than other sports. Like I would equate us to like track and like running and stuff because of how cardio based we are. But I wish we could eat healthier.
Yeah. Does it vary though?
It definitely varies
for a sprinter versus a distance?
I wouldn't say it varies too much. Typically, the only thing I'd see it varies like appetite is in sprinters typically won't do as many yardage as distance and mid-distance swimmers. So you might have a variance there. And like also in training, just in general, weightlifters, like in swimming like sprinters are pretty big and distance swimmers are pretty small. Yeah. So it's like just difference in those like body types that I guess you could like diet will change and stuff like that.
Okay. I see. So for you, when did you know that your aptitude for a sport was swimming, and did it change? Did the events that you swam change throughout, club, and I know how competitive that is, and then high school, and then obviously now at UNF?
Yeah. So I moved to Florida when I was 8, and
you were in Red Bank, right?
I was in Red Bank,
New Jersey. I know that area of New Jersey.
I would never move back, but like shout out New Jersey. But yeah, so I didn't do any swimming up there. Like I took swim lessons just because my mom wanted me to like be able to survive if I needed to. But like I didn't have any like background in swimming. I did like dance and cheerleading. But then when I moved to Florida, my mom's like, "Do you want to find a studio?" And I was like, "No, I want to like be a new like Sydney.
It's gonna be a new thing.
Yeah. So then my mom wanted me to just take up swimming again because like obviously the amount of water we were around was not like that in Jersey. So
Right.
like I swam.
Well, and the time frame
Yeah.
for to swim outside, obviously, which you can do all the time down
so
here.
I moved down in April, so it was already getting
Mhm.
like summertime. So my mom just put me in more lessons to like learn strokes and stuff. And then my instructor was like, "You should try it for swim team." So I did.
Okay.
And then ever since then, I've been swimming. So I love the sport. I'm like my brother and sister now swim because I swim. So like they're younger than me. And like stroke wise, I would say when you start off in swimming, like in club, they kind of just make you do everything. Like it's just like, cause you're so little, like it's just like you swim all the events that you can. I eventually like started to specialize, I would say like a little bit more. I realized I was not the sprinter type.
Mm-hmm.
So I barely ever did sprint events, and I would still do like all the events, just like all the distance events. So anything like a 200 and above or more
Mhm.
my like specialty then. In high school, I used to do butterfly a lot more than I do now. And then like around sophomore year, I like decided like specialized in backstroke and IM, which is
Right.
now my current
Mhm.
specialty.
How do you know, how does a coach realize that this person has an aptitude for, in your case, like backstroke? How does that evolve? Do you notice it's just like some people are fast and some people can jump high, something like that?
It's definitely like you can see it. So I coach now too and teach lessons for swimming. So like I have like now like a little bit of like a coach's perspective to it because I coach like really young kids. And you can definitely see like there are already some people like, especially with breaststroke, it's a very natural, like either you have the natural ability for it because it's a very different motion
Mm-hmm.
or like you don't. So I can tell these kids, like certain kids in my group, I'm like, that's like, you're a breaststroker and you're going to be a breaststroker. But like other than that, like it's really just putting them in everything and seeing what they do best and like where their technique is best and where they have the best improvements over time and stuff. And eventually, I wouldn't say specializing early in swimming is a good idea. I would say definitely like branch out and try everything because like I didn't do backstroke really at all until sophomore year. And now one of my best events is the 200 backstroke.
Yeah.
So it's like I didn't specialize till I was like 16, 17. So it was like I like that I did everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, your body's going to change too, and
Yeah.
you're going to get bigger and stronger, and that's going to benefit you in certain ways in butterfly or something like that, really demanding, and
Mm-hmm.
it's probably that's going to change over time. So last year you also got elected to be part of SAC.
Mm-hmm.
What other things are you involved with that, and then what's your life like outside of the pool, and how'd you get into it?
So SAC was something I started like as one of the swim reps my end of freshman year and sophomore year. So I was just like one, because each team needs to have 2 reps. So I was just one of the reps. And Kendra who's our sponsor, was actually the one that was like, I really think you'd be good in the leadership position. So my junior year, I took on like a vice president type position in SAC. And then after that, I just was like, I went to one in-person. So SAC has like 2 in-person meetings every year, one in the summer and one in the winter, and they're at different ASUN schools. So like I went to my first one when North Florida hosted it in winter.
It was last year.
Yeah, winter
January.
of last year, January of last year. And I just loved, because that was the first time I was able to see SAC at a higher level. And I loved how everyone there was like so like-minded and like had such a passion for making athletics, like having students have the best experience they could in athletics. So that's where I was like, and they talked about how they needed people to run for positions that people were graduating from. So I was like, that's when I decided to run for one of the positions in the ASUN. So that's how I got the ASUN secretary position. And now me and Taryn Griffey on volleyball are the presidents of the UNF SAC version. And then I work with the ASUN too, which is super fun. I love it.
So how does that factor into your goals after college? And obviously you're helping out coaching now, and I know a lot of people involved with swimming that were collegiate athletes that do coach. Do you see that factoring, or did you have kind of vocational goals elsewhere?
I could definitely see myself still like being involved in athletics because I'm like super passionate about that and stuff, and I love swimming, so I could never like see myself like completely distancing myself like from the sport. I do want to want to be a lawyer, so I have like aspirations to go to law school and stuff, but I could totally like see myself like, I feel like I still have like my paths open, like I'm not like set on anything, so I could totally like see myself continuing down an athletics route.
What's your next step for becoming a lawyer? Do you have eyes on a place, or?
Yeah, I'm taking a gap year to like get my studying down for the LSAT and get my applications straight and everything. So I'm planning on starting in 2021. I want to stay in Florida, preferably like UF, FSU type vibes. So we're hoping for the best.
Yeah, that's another grind in itself. Yeah, that you enter into.
Grind. I've tried it. I've started it, and it's definitely a lot. But
so right now with your senior year, and you guys have a nice group of seniors. You have to play it by ear with your injury. What's kind of your goal for yourself if you get in the pool or if it doesn't work out?
Just like I want to be able to finish the season on my own terms. Like I don't want anyone to have to be like, you can't do this.
Yeah.
Like I want to
take you out.
Yeah, I know I won't be able to perform like at my abilities, like, which is sad because I had all these like end goals. Like these are the times I want to end like my swimming career on, which is like sad that I won't be able to try that. But like now I just have a different like perspective and like for the sport in general. So like it definitely like, I'm trying to say it. It definitely like.
Well, just a different perspective about kind of anything, your body,
like,
just, your ability to use your body.
Like appreciate how like.
Just function.
Yeah. Like how much easier it was before everything. So like now I just want to like, my goal is really just to like do as much as I can. For the season. What's something about swimming and competing that's kind of misunderstood or not known that you think that a lot of people that are athletes don't really know or appreciate about? I feel like swimming's a very underappreciated sport. Like it's like most people don't care about it unless like it's every 4 years at the Olympics. They're within it or that's how they can get behind it, gold medals and everything. But it's definitely, I would say, one of the like hardest mentally sports out there because it's like ever since I was 8, I've been swimming year round. Ever since I was 8, I've had every summer I woke up at 6 a.m. and had practice every single day. So I've never like had like a summer to my like it's just you don't really have summers to yourself. No, I've never had that. Like everything in my life. Or you're lifeguarding or you're doing something else because they need you in the community to help out. Yeah. So like that's all I've done is like everything I did like revolved around my training and swimming, and I feel like and like the amount of practice time commitment you need to do for swimming is as you can't really take off like time ever is a lot, and it's different than running. I feel like because running goes a lot faster and yes, and even if you're a distance runner and you do it casually, you don't have to get in the water. Yeah, getting in the water is rough. That's like a whole other barrier. 25 degrees here in the winter, getting in the water is a little tricky. That's a little dicey for a lot of people. But it definitely takes a lot of mental strength, I would say, that some people don't realize. So you had the swimming part down in terms of a triathlon or something like that. Would you ever consider doing that? That's literally, I've told people that for the last 2 years, like as I was coming up to like realize it's the hardest part. I'm done with swimming. I was like, I totally want to get into triathlons. The only thing I've never like tried is like a competitive bike. So I'd have to like learn how to do that and get into that. But like I enjoy running. I have no issues with running, and I love swimming, obviously. So I definitely like end goal. I'd love to do an Ironman. Just do like your Ironman backstroke. In the water. I'd love to do an Ironman one day, but that's like end goal. Like who knows? But like definitely want to try triathlons soon. Ever do anything crazy like swim the English Channel? Those crazy people. I would honestly. That I've heard of all that, and that's cool. We used to do when I was younger, like a swim around Key West. So we do as like a relay. We would swim 12.5 miles like around the island, which was like one of my favorite experiences. That's impressive. I wouldn't do it by myself. My friend did it by himself, which I was like, you're crazy. You get a lot of harrowing stories. People will do that in the Bay Area and it's pretty shark infested. So I don't know if I'd do it by myself, but like doing it with a relay was still like super fun. What's kind of the coolest or most unique place that you've swam recreationally? We haven't traveled super far with UNF. Like Virginia is like the farthest we've traveled for. But even I'm just like did a swim like that around. I'd have never left the country. So like definitely Key West was the funnest place to do like a swim at. But I've never really. Do you have any eyes on any places to go? I've definitely. I don't know. I've heard of this cool swim like overseas somewhere like Turkey or something, which would be cool. Like my professor was telling me about it. Like there's like a swim across some kind of sea or river, something like that. But that like that's just like so cool. Like English Channel would be so cool, stuff like that. But pipe dreams, because it is. I mean, it's kind of the rage right now. The ultra marathon, ultra swims, whatever if they have a name. The Ironman stuff. I mean, that's really current, and I figured. I think they're so cool though. I would like love if I ever could do it, you know.
You got to channel your competitive drive
Yeah.
somewhere, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
I know.
yeah.
I honestly don't know what I'll do like after like competing is over, you know. So that's why I wanted to get involved in triathlons to start.
You might need to when you're studying for law
I
school.
know.
Yeah, so-
Something to give myself
Yeah.
a break.
Well, thanks for coming on today, Sydney. We got a good amount of swimming talk in from you and Ian. And I'm sure we'll see you there in a couple weeks against Georgia Southern.
Yeah,
So
that's the goal.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you again to Ian and Sydney for coming out and chatting. The swimming lifestyle and grind is unprecedented in sports, and it is grueling mentally and physically. Hopefully we got an inside look at that today. We have a number of teams competing this week, with men's and women's cross country going to their last bit of action before going to the ASUN Championship in Fort Myers. They'll go to the FSU Invitational Friday, and men's tennis will also be in tally for the Bedford Cup. That's going to be Friday through Sunday. It'll be men's soccer's turn to go up to the Garden State Saturday when it squares off with the Highlanders. That's at 7 p.m. On the women's side, UNF gets a pair of home matches, hosting North Alabama tonight at 7 and Lipscomb at 1 p.m. on Sunday. Beach volleyball will start its fall exhibition schedule on the 12th at Tavares, with opponents Stetson, FAU, and FSU awaiting them. And the indoor squad will go to Stetson Friday, Jacksonville Sunday, and then host FAMU Tuesday. Women's golf closes out its fall slate at the Palmetto Intercollegiate Sunday through Tuesday at Turtle Point in South Carolina. And make sure to follow along with all of this action at unfospreys.com. Find us on Facebook at North Florida Ospreys and Instagram or Twitter at UNF Ospreys. Thank you again for listening to this installment of Talon Talk. Swoop.